Story number 1. Title: Whispers in the Corridor. It's 2023, and while I've tried to leave the past behind, every year, as October's cool winds sweep in, I'm pulled back to that chilling night in 2003. Those memories feel like jagged pieces of broken glass, each pricking my consciousness, urging me to share our story. I was driving. The excitement of Halloween buzzed through the car's interiors. My 3 friends, Jason, who loved horror tales, Claire, our ever-skeptical scientist, Emily, the spirit-believing romantic, and me, Mark, the adventurer, were on our way to an impromptu adventure in suburban Los Angeles. But what should have been a carefree joyride quickly transformed into a nightmare. A wild-looking man darted in front of our car. I swerved to avoid him, and we crashed into a tree, jolting us all. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. The man vanished into the woods, leaving behind just a chilling echo of his mad laughter. We decided to stop for the night. There, shrouded in the creeping fog, stood the old Bellwood Mental Asylum. It was rumored to have been abandoned since the 70s after a mysterious fire took the lives of many. Those with a penchant for the supernatural said it wasn't truly abandoned, souls still lingered, making it a hotspot for ghost stories. But Jason, with his endless enthusiasm for horror, suggested we take shelter inside for the night. I hesitated, but the excitement of a Halloween adventure in such a place was tempting. Upon entering, we met Dr. Raymond, who claimed to be a paranormal investigator. His assistant, a sensitive named Lydia, said she could communicate with the dead. They were there to unearth the mysteries of the asylum and find out why spirits were unable to move on. With their equipment, they started the investigations. Lydia began to chant, and slowly, the room's temperature dropped. A gust of wind blew open a window, and we heard the faint sounds of crying. Emily clung to me, terrified, while Claire, ever the scientist, looked for a logical explanation. We decided to split up to explore. Claire and Jason ventured to the burned section, while Emily, Dr. Raymond, Lydia, and I explored the East Wing. There, we found old records. I began reading, and the story of the asylum unraveled before us. The fire wasn't an accident. A patient, known only as the Wild Man, had caused it in an attempt to free himself and others. The tales of his madness were legendary. He believed the fire would purify souls. Those souls, however, remained trapped. As we delved deeper, Claire and Jason encountered the apparition of a nurse. She whispered, "Help us." Jason, who loved these tales, was pale with fear. Meanwhile, Lydia channeled spirits, allowing them to speak through her. They spoke of the Wild Man's terror and how they were trapped in eternal suffering. The night felt endless. Specters came and went, a crying child, a manic doctor, and always the presence of the Wild Man. Lydia urged us to hold a seance to help release these souls. Gathering in the main hall, we began. A tremendous force gripped us. The room shook, lights flickered, and we could feel the energy of countless spirits around. But Lydia, with her strength, guided them, and slowly, one by one, they found peace. Except for the Wild Man. His energy, intense and fiery, surrounded us. Emily began chanting a prayer, her voice echoing through the asylum. It felt like hours before his presence began to wane, and with one last scream, he disappeared. As dawn broke, we left the asylum, the weight of the night heavy on our shoulders. Dr. Raymond and Lydia continued their journey, uncovering other haunted spots. But for us, that night was more than enough. It's been 20 years since that night. The memories are still vivid. The old Bellwood Mental Asylum was torn down a few years later, but the stories persist. we all went our separate ways, but every Halloween, I find myself driving past the now empty lot where the asylum once stood, forever haunted by the souls we met that night. Story number 2. Title: Shadows of Lost Pines. 2001 was a year I'll never forget. The taste of adventure had always been a lure for my wife, Lisa, and me. Two avid travelers seeking the thrill of the unknown. But that Halloween night, our wanderlust led us down a path far darker than we ever could have imagined. I was driving our old Jeep through the outskirts of suburban Texas, with Lisa humming softly beside me. Our conversation was lighthearted, a blend of past adventures and plans for our next journey. The thick woods of Lost Pines enveloped the road, their tall shadows merging with the descending night. Suddenly, a swift blur of fur dashed in front of our headlights. I jerked the wheel to avoid hitting what looked like a wild coyote, and our car skidded off the road. The impact was jarring, and the Jeep's engine sputtered and died. We checked ourselves for injuries. Besides a few bruises and some minor cuts, we were mostly shaken. The car, however, was another story. It had taken quite a beating, and in the dimming light, an old dilapidated sign caught our attention: Rose Hill Asylum. An overgrown path seemed to lead towards it. With no other refuge in sight and the chilling wind reminding us of the impending night, we gathered our belongings and headed toward the asylum. As we approached, we stumbled upon a small campsite. There, we met Dan, a historian researching old asylums, and his assistant Ava, a photographer capturing the eerie beauty of such places. They had been at Rose Hill for a few days, unraveling the tales of its tragic past. As they shared stories of the asylum, we learned of a massive fire in the 60s that had killed many of its residents. The fire's cause remained a mystery, but locals whispered of spirits trapped between worlds, forever bound to the scorched walls. Intrigued, and with no other options, we decided to spend the night. With only the dim glow of the campfire, Dan began to recount patient testimonies he'd discovered. Tales of shadows moving on their own, chilling drafts in locked rooms, and haunting lullabies that no one could trace. Midnight approached, and the line between legends and reality began to blur. An otherworldly chill hung in the air, and we could hear the soft whispers of the wind, each gust sounding more and more like the anguished cries of lost souls. Dan and Ava, equipped with some rudimentary ghost hunting gear, proposed a seance to communicate with any spirits present. Drawn in by curiosity, Lisa and I agreed. As Ava began chanting, the temperature seemed to drop further. From the shadows, indistinct figures started appearing. They seemed curious, confused, and some undoubtedly angry. One spirit, a former nurse named Eleanor, communicated through Ava, revealing the truth about the fire. It was no accident. A deranged patient had set it, hoping to free everyone from their earthly cages. The tragedy had bound them to the asylum, their anguished spirits seeking release. We decided to help. Using a mix of Eleanor's guidance and Dan's historical knowledge, we conducted a ritual to help the spirits find peace. Hours passed, marked by chilling winds, ghostly apparitions, and the ever-present feeling of being watched. But as dawn approached, a serene calm settled over the asylum. Eleanor and the other spirits seemed to have found their rest. Exhausted and still in disbelief, we thanked Dan and Ava for their guidance and set out to find help for our damaged Jeep. But as we left the hauntingly beautiful ruins of Rose Hill Asylum, a chilling thought struck me. Would we ever truly leave that night behind, or would its shadows forever cling to the edges of our memory? Now, over 2 decades later, every Halloween, as the veil between the worlds thins, I can't help but wonder about that night and the spirits we encountered. Were they real, or just figments of our imagination, fueled by fear and the dark tales of Rose Hill? I may never know, but one thing is certain, our journey to the heart of Lost Pines is one adventure we'll never forget. Story number 3. Title: Echoes of Ward 13. Every Halloween, the same haunting memories from 2002 resurface, reminding me of the night that changed everything. It was a night where the line between the living and the dead blurred, a night I will never forget. I was driving. My friends, Emma and Sam, sang along to the radio in the back seat, their laughter filling the air. We were students at NYU, eager to make the most of our Halloween night by exploring the rumored haunted areas of suburban New York. As we drove through the dense woods, a sudden and chilling apparition appeared before us. A wild ghost, its transparent form illuminated by our headlights, dashed across the road. Panic gripped me, and I swerved, the world spinning as we crashed into a ditch. Dazed and shaken, we assessed the damage. The car was in no shape to continue, and as the last rays of the sun disappeared, we spotted a decaying sign, Hollowbrook Asylum. With no other shelter in sight, we decided to venture in. Inside, the air was cold, and an eerie silence hung heavy. The asylum seemed to echo with whispered memories of its past. Here we met Lucas, a local journalist, and Elise, a paranormal investigator. They were there to uncover the true story of the infamous Ward 13, where, decades ago, patients had mysteriously perished in a fire. Lucas shared tales from his investigations, stories of a doctor with cruel and unusual methods, leading to a revolt by the patients. The uprising had ended in the disastrous fire, with the cause never determined. Elise believed the trapped souls of those patients were responsible for the haunting phenomena reported in the area. Curiosity and fear intertwined as we decided to delve deeper into the mystery of Ward 13. With Elise's equipment, we ventured into the ward. The once sterile white walls now charred, the silence occasionally broken by ghostly whispers and distant screams. Emma, sensitive to energies, felt a tug towards a particular room. Inside, we found remnants of old medical journals. As I leafed through, entries of experimental treatments, patient revolts, and an impending investigation into the hospital's practices emerged. Suddenly, ghostly apparitions surrounded us. Angry, tormented souls reaching out, their stories of pain and betrayal overwhelming us. Elise, with her knowledge, began communicating, urging the spirits to share their tales. A particular spirit, named Abigail, was a former patient who had led the revolt against the cruel doctor. She revealed that the doctor, fearing exposure due to the impending investigation, had set the fire, intending to destroy evidence but ended up taking many innocent lives instead. Empathy grew within us, and with Elise's guidance, we conducted a ceremony to free the trapped souls. The asylum seemed to come alive, a cacophony of voices, cries, and memories swirling around us. As dawn approached, the atmosphere lightened. The spirits, having shared their stories, began to find peace. Leaving Hollowbrook, we sought out a local doctor to tend to our bruises and scrapes from the accident. As he treated us, he shared tales of many others who had encountered the restless spirits of the asylum but mentioned that no one had ever stayed long enough to uncover its secrets. Now, years later, the weight of that night remains. Hollowbrook was demolished soon after, but the stories persist. Every Halloween, as the boundary between our world and the next thins, I'm reminded of the souls we encountered and the truth we uncovered in the echoes of Ward 13. Story number 4. Title: Whispers of Ravenwood. 2004 was a year I thought I'd left behind. But every October, the memories of that fateful Halloween night in suburban San Francisco creep back into my mind, as haunting and vivid as the apparitions we encountered. I was driving. With the soft glow of the dashboard illuminating my wife, Mia, we were humming along to our favorite tunes. A getaway was just what we needed. But as the dense woods of Ravenwood enveloped the road, an unexpected interruption shattered our serenity. A deer, its eyes reflecting panic and something more sinister, dashed across our path. I swerved, and the world blurred as we crashed into a tree. Assessing our situation, we found ourselves relatively unharmed, but our car told a different story. By the dim light of my phone, we spotted a rusted, almost swallowed by time sign, Ravenwood Asylum. Upon our hesitant approach, two figures emerged from the shadows. They introduced themselves as Robert, a historian, and his partner, June, a psychic medium. They were there to decipher the asylum's dark history. A massive blaze in the 70s, the result of an unknown origin, had trapped countless souls within its walls. With the approaching night and our damaged car, we had little choice but to accompany our new acquaintances into the depths of Ravenwood. The air grew colder with each step, and the asylum seemed alive with faint whispers and fleeting shadows. June, with her sensitive nature, was quick to sense the unrest. Ghostly apparitions began to manifest, drawing us into their residual memories. We experienced the pain, anger, and betrayal that still lingered in the hallways. Robert, using his extensive research, began to piece together a narrative. Rumors of a rogue doctor performing inhumane experiments on unsuspecting patients. It was this revelation that had sparked a patient uprising, which tragically culminated in the Great Fire. The night's darkness intensified as we ventured deeper. One apparition, a nurse named Lillian, communicated her torment to June. The rogue doctor had been her fiancé, and she was torn between her love for him and the horrors he committed. It was Lillian who had discovered his secrets and incited the revolt. But she also revealed that she had been betrayed and was trapped in the inferno by the very patients she tried to save. Empathy welled within us. We needed to set these souls free. Under June's guidance and with Robert's knowledge, we conducted a ritual, reaching out to the spirits, acknowledging their pain, and promising to share their stories. As dawn approached, a surreal peace enveloped the asylum. Our mission seemed accomplished, and with heavy hearts, we made our way out of Ravenwood. We found a local mechanic to fix our car, and a doctor to tend to our minor injuries. Ravenwood Asylum was demolished a year later, but the stories persist. Our brief time there forever binds Mia and me to its history. Every Halloween, as the veil between worlds thins, we light a candle in memory of the souls of Ravenwood, ensuring their stories are never forgotten. Story number 5. Title: Shadows of Everglades Sanitarium. It's been 18 years, but that night in 2005, deep in suburban Miami, remains seared in my mind. I've told this tale to few, always fearing they'd never believe the horrors of that Halloween night. I was driving. The dense foliage of the Everglades surrounded our old sedan. My friends, Olivia, the eternal optimist, Diego, our group's braveheart, and me, Alex, the curious one, were on our way to an exclusive Halloween party. As we laughed and shared our university escapades, a chilling apparition manifested right in front of our vehicle. A ghostly figure, radiating an icy blue aura. In my panic, I swerved, causing our car to slam into a tree. As the dust settled, the realization of our predicament hit us. With the car damaged and the dark night enveloping us, an old, decrepit sign caught our eye: Everglades Sanitarium. As we moved towards the building, the weight of its grim past weighed heavily upon us. There, we were greeted by Dr. Claire Mitchell, a historian with a penchant for the paranormal, and her assistant, Raphael, a tech whiz with a suite of ghost hunting gadgets. They were on a mission to uncover the tragic events that led to the sanitarium's downfall in the 1960s. With no other refuge, we decided to join their exploration. The sanitarium was a maze of corridors, with remnants of its dark past lurking in every corner. As night deepened, ghostly apparitions began to make their presence known. Cold drafts, unexplained sounds, and fleeting shadows all hinted at the unrestful souls trapped within. As we delved deeper, aided by Raphael's gadgets, we started unraveling the sanitarium's secrets. Tales of a mad doctor, obsessed with the afterlife, emerged. He conducted forbidden experiments, hoping to breach the veil between life and death. His actions had driven many patients to madness, ultimately leading to a revolt that ended in a catastrophic fire. The souls of the victims, including the mad doctor himself, were believed to be trapped within the sanitarium's walls. The climax of our night came when Olivia, sensitive to otherworldly energies, was drawn to the burned remains of the main hall. Dr. Claire, drawing from her research, began to communicate with the spirits. One by one, their tales of anguish, betrayal, and a desire for release echoed through the corridors. Empowered by their stories, and with Dr. Claire's guidance, we set forth to release the trapped souls. Using a mix of rituals and technology, we urged the spirits to move on. The sanitarium seemed to breathe, its very walls vibrating with energy, until, just before dawn, a serene silence settled. The first rays of the sun found us exhausted but changed. We eventually found our way to a nearby clinic, where our minor injuries were treated. Dr. Claire and Raphael continued their quest to free haunted places, while Olivia, Diego, and I went on to graduate, always carrying the memories of that night with us. Even today, whenever the Halloween winds howl through the trees, I find myself drawn back to the night at Everglades Sanitarium, forever haunted by the spirits we encountered and the truths we uncovered. Story number 6. Title: Haunting at Lake Heart Asylum. Every Halloween since 2006, I'm transported back to that night, to the twisted corridors and chilling echoes of Lake Heart Asylum in suburban Orlando. What started as a teenage adventure turned into a nightmare, forever etched into my memory. I was driving. The car's atmosphere was electric, filled with the chatter of my friends, Rachel, the daredevil, Jake, the comedian, Lily, the bookworm, and me, Sarah, the storyteller. The radio blared our favorite tunes, and we were headed to a renowned haunted house event. But as the dense canopy of the woods overtook the skyline, a wild, disheveled man abruptly darted in front of our car. Panicked, I swerved, narrowly missing him, but ending up crashing into an old, dilapidated gate. The sign read, Lake Heart Asylum. Shaken but unharmed, we gathered our things and approached the imposing building. We soon met Dr. Bethany, a paranormal researcher, and her assistant, Mark, a tech enthusiast. They were there to unravel the mysteries of the asylum, which had been the epicenter of numerous ghostly sightings and legends. Gratefully, we joined them, seeking refuge and perhaps a bit of adventure. The asylum whispered its dark history. Decades ago, a fire broke out, consuming many within its walls. Yet, the cause remained a shrouded mystery. As the night deepened, the line between reality and the supernatural blurred. Ghostly apparitions, chilling drafts, and eerie sounds surrounded us. Mark's equipment captured anomalies that logic couldn't explain, while Dr. Bethany's research shed light on the past. The asylum's head doctor had dabbled in dangerous and experimental treatments, leading to numerous unexplained deaths. Rachel, ever the daredevil, urged us to explore further. In the basement, we stumbled upon old files that hinted at a cover-up. The fire, it seemed, wasn't an accident. It was an act of revenge by a group of patients aimed at the head doctor. But it had gone horribly wrong, trapping innocent souls in the inferno. The spirits grew restless as the night wore on. Their energy seemed to crescendo in a haunting dance of pain, anger, and despair. Dr. Bethany believed that revealing the truth about the fire might give the souls some semblance of peace. Together, we held a séance, allowing the spirits to tell their stories. Hours seemed like minutes, and as dawn approached, a deep, tranquil silence enveloped Lake Hart. The spirits had found their voice, and we hoped, some semblance of peace. We eventually made our way to town, finding a doctor to tend to our minor injuries. But the physical bruises paled in comparison to the emotional scars. It's been years since that night, but every Halloween, as darkness falls and shadows play tricks on the mind, I find myself thinking of Lake Hart Asylum. We had set out seeking ghosts, only to find very real and painful human stories. And while the asylum now lies silent, its tales of anguish and redemption continue to haunt my dreams. Story number 7. Title: The Haunting of Red Rock Asylum. Whenever Halloween approaches, I find my thoughts wandering back to 2007, to the chilling night on the outskirts of suburban Las Vegas that I would forever remember. I was driving, the desert road stretching out endlessly in front of us. My girlfriend, Natalie, and I were eager to explore the beauty of Red Rock Canyon. But as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, a swift, shadowy coyote darted in front of our car. In my desperate attempt to avoid it, the car spun out of control, leaving us shaken and stranded. The dim glow of twilight revealed a long-abandoned structure, Red Rock Asylum. Considering our predicament and the looming darkness, we reluctantly decided to seek shelter within its decayed walls. Inside, the thick silence was interrupted by the footsteps of two strangers. Introducing themselves as Alan, a journalist, and Alara, a medium, they were here to investigate the asylum's dark and tragic history. During the late 60s, an unexplained mass death had occurred, with the cause remaining shrouded in mystery. Alan shared notes from his research, revealing disturbing tales of patients and the cruel experiments they were subjected to. Alara, sensing the tormented spirits around, suggested a séance to communicate with the lost souls. Drawn in by a mix of fear and curiosity, Natalie and I joined them. As Alara began chanting, the air grew icy. The room echoed with distant cries, and ghostly figures started appearing, sharing their stories of despair. One particular spirit, a former patient named Rose, conveyed a horrifying truth: the mass death was no accident. A rogue nurse, believing she was conducting a divine cleansing, had poisoned the institution's water supply. Throughout the night, we experienced chilling paranormal phenomena, ghostly apparitions, sudden drops in temperature, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. Using a combination of Alan's research and Alara's abilities, we managed to conduct a ritual aiming to offer solace and release to the trapped souls. By dawn, the oppressive atmosphere of the asylum had lightened, the spirits seemingly finding peace. With the first rays of sun, we found our way back to civilization, seeking out a doctor to tend to our injuries and process the night's traumatic events. Years have passed since that harrowing experience at Red Rock Asylum. Although the structure was eventually demolished, its haunting tales live on. Every Halloween, as the veil between the living and the dead grows thin, I light a candle in memory of Rose and the countless souls we encountered, hoping they've found the peace they so desperately sought. Story number 8. Title: Whispers of the Manoa Asylum. Every year, as Halloween approaches, memories from 2008 haunt me. That night, in the depths of suburban Honolulu, remains as vivid as ever, despite the passing years. I was driving. My friends, Keanu and Lonnie, were animatedly discussing our plans for the night. The winding roads of Manoa Valley, surrounded by dense tropical foliage, painted a perfect backdrop for our college adventures. Suddenly, a chilling, ethereal figure materialized in front of our vehicle. Startled, I swerved, and the car jolted to a stop, slightly damaged. Emerging from the car, the distant silhouette of an old, crumbling structure caught our eyes: Manoa Asylum. Despite our reservations, the night's darkness and our situation left us little choice but to venture inside. Within the dilapidated walls, we encountered Dr. Malia, an anthropologist, and her companion, Kai, a local with deep knowledge of Hawaiian folklore. They were there to uncover the stories buried within the asylum, aiming to shed light on the mysterious occurrences that led to its abandonment. Malia shared fragmented tales of the institution, patients who inexplicably vanished, shadowy figures seen in hallways, and haunting chants that echoed during the darkest nights. Kai spoke of ancient Hawaiian spirits, possibly angered by the asylum's presence on sacred ground. The atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive as night deepened. Soon, ghostly apparitions began to appear, each echoing pain and sorrow. One spirit, a former patient named Moana, communicated her torment. She revealed the asylum's dark history. A head doctor, desperate for breakthroughs, conducted forbidden rituals blending modern medicine with ancient Hawaiian dark arts. This unholy combination led to catastrophic results, trapping countless souls in limbo. Intrigued and horrified, we decided to help. Guided by Kai's knowledge and Dr. Malia's research, we conducted a ceremony to appease the spirits. The ancient chants, combined with our genuine desire to help, seemed to create a bridge for the spirits. The night turned into a whirlwind of emotions: fear, sorrow, empathy, and hope. The apparitions, including Moana, grew more peaceful, sharing their stories, seeking acknowledgement and release. As dawn approached, the heavy atmosphere lifted. The spirits seemed to recede, finding solace in the ritual's aftermath. We made our way back to civilization, seeking medical help for our minor injuries. Today, Manoa Asylum lies reclaimed by nature, but tales of that night and the spirits we encountered continue to echo through local legends. Every Halloween, when the boundary between the living and the dead becomes fragile, I light a lantern in memory of Moana and the souls of the asylum, forever bound by our shared experience. Story number 9. Title: Echoes of Hawthorne Heights. The autumn of 2009 remains the darkest chapter of my life. That Halloween night in suburban Washington, D.C., when time seemed to stand still, is a haunting memory I can't escape. I was driving. The road ahead was framed by the towering trees of the dense woods, their branches eerily swaying in the wind. My friends Noah, Emily, and Sophia and I had planned the perfect Halloween night, complete with horror movie marathons and tales around a campfire. Suddenly, a disheveled, wild-eyed man bolted onto the road. Instinctively, I swerved, crashing into an old stone gate. As we emerged, a bit shaken, from our damaged car, a large faded sign greeted us: Hawthorne Heights Asylum. We decided to take shelter within its looming walls, and it was there that we met Dr. Carter, a historian researching the asylum's dark past, and Elena, a psychic sensitive to otherworldly energies. They were there to uncover the truth behind the institution's abrupt closure in the late 50s. As we delved deeper into the asylum, Dr. Carter shared his findings. He spoke of a chief doctor, renowned for his groundbreaking research but rumored to have experimented on his patients. One such experiment went horribly wrong, leading to a riot that consumed the asylum in flames. Elena, with a far-off look in her eyes, spoke of the restless spirits that still roamed the halls, trapped in their anguish. The atmosphere grew heavier as midnight approached. Phantoms emerged from the shadows, their sorrowful wails echoing through the corridors. Emily, always the bravest among us, urged us to confront these apparitions and unearth the truth. Guided by Elena's psychic abilities, we communicated with a spirit named Clara. She revealed she had been a nurse at the asylum and had discovered the chief doctor's sinister activities. Determined to stop him, she and a few trusted patients had planned the uprising, but it spiraled out of control, leading to the devastating fire. Empathy filled our hearts, and with Dr. Carter's knowledge, we sought to give the trapped souls closure. By recounting their stories and acknowledging their pain, we hoped to free them from their eternal torment. The night transformed into a whirlwind of emotions: terror, grief, and finally, hope. As dawn broke, the heavy presence that once dominated Hawthorne Heights seemed to lighten. The spirits, their stories now heard, began to find their peace. We made our way back to civilization, forever changed by the events of that night. Dr. Carter continued his research, ensuring the true history of the asylum would never be forgotten, while Elena embarked on a mission to help other lost souls find their way. To this day, every Halloween, when the barrier between our world and the next is at its thinnest, I light a candle in memory of Clara and the souls of Hawthorne Heights. A reminder of the night when history, horror, and hope intertwined. Story number 10. Title: The Forgotten Wards of Willowbrook. 10 years may have passed, but the haunting memories of that October night in 2010, on the outskirts of suburban Chicago, remain crystal clear. A seemingly ordinary Halloween getaway evolved into a night of chilling encounters that my mind often replays. I was driving, with my fiancée, Anna, beside me. We'd planned a tranquil weekend in the Chicago woods, but fate had a different path for us. A wild raccoon unexpectedly darted across the road, and in my desperate attempt to avoid it, the car skidded and thudded against an ancient-looking stone pillar. In the encroaching twilight, the towering silhouette of an old building became evident: Willowbrook Mental Asylum. With our car rendered useless, we hesitantly approached the establishment, seeking shelter. Inside, we encountered a duo: Dr. Catherine, a determined historian, and Edgar, a seasoned paranormal investigator. They were on a mission to uncover Willowbrook's tragic past, a place notorious for its unexplained deaths and eerie occurrences in the 40s. As we explored the asylum's forsaken corridors, Dr. Catherine shared her research. She spoke of unethical treatments, the disheartening conditions, and most shockingly, a series of mysterious patient disappearances. Edgar, with a grave expression, revealed that he had always sensed a congregation of restless spirits within Willowbrook's walls, and with his array of equipment, he intended to communicate with them. The night's curtain fell, and the paranormal events began. Disembodied voices whispered tales of despair, cold spots marked the presence of unseen entities, and ghostly apparitions, seemingly trapped in time, reenacted their final, tragic moments. Anna, with her empathetic nature, felt a strong connection to a spirit named Elsie, who unveiled the institution's darkest secret. Many patients had been subjected to a deadly experimental procedure, masterminded by a deranged doctor who believed he was pioneering a revolutionary treatment. The procedure, however, had fatal consequences, leading to countless untimely deaths. With Dr. Catherine's knowledge and Edgar's expertise, we decided to help these tormented souls. Through a mix of rituals and modern technology, we conducted a seance, urging the spirits to share their stories and seeking to offer them the peace they'd been denied in life. As dawn painted the horizon, the oppressive atmosphere of Willowbrook began to dissipate. The spirits, their voices finally heard, seemed to find solace, their ethereal forms gradually fading away. We made our way back to civilization, forever marked by the harrowing events at Willowbrook. While Dr. Catherine continued to chronicle the asylum's history, ensuring its truths would never be forgotten, Edgar delved deeper into the world of the supernatural, guided by the experiences of that night. Now, each Halloween, as the clock strikes midnight, Anna and I light a candle in memory of Elsie and the lost souls of Willowbrook, a poignant reminder of the night when past horrors were brought to light. Story number 11. Title: Shadows of Salem Heights. 2011's Halloween night remains an unhealed scar on my memory, a stark reminder of the unspeakable horrors that lurk in the forgotten corners of suburban Boston. Every time the autumn wind howls, I am transported back to that fateful night at Salem Heights Asylum. I was driving. The car, filled with my friends Leo and Emma's excited chatter, ventured deeper into the dense woods. Our plans were simple, a nocturnal adventure to mark Halloween. However, when a ghastly, spectral figure darted in front of our vehicle, I swerved, causing the car to skid and thump against the decaying boundary stone. Before us stood the imposing structure of Salem Heights Asylum. With our vehicle damaged and the enveloping darkness, we had little choice but to seek refuge within its eerie confines. Inside, we crossed paths with Professor Samuel, an historian with a keen interest in New England's dark past, and Lydia, a psychic medium. They were investigating the tales surrounding Salem Heights, a place that, decades earlier, had been abruptly abandoned under mysterious circumstances. As Professor Samuel recounted the asylum's history, the atmosphere grew chilling. It was said that in the late 1800s, the head doctor, driven by a blend of science and dark occult practices, conducted sinister experiments on his patients. The results were catastrophic, leading to the unexplained deaths of many. Lydia, with her sensitive nature, felt a palpable energy in the air. With dusk settling in, paranormal activity began. Eerie cries echoed through the hollowed halls, spectral apparitions made fleeting appearances, and chilling drafts signaled the presence of the unseen. Drawn by a blend of fear and curiosity, we decided to delve deeper. Emma, her voice quivering, suggested we hold a seance. Guided by Lydia's expertise, we contacted the spirit of a patient named Abigail. Through her, we learned the horrifying truth: the doctor, in his mad ambition, had inadvertently opened a portal to the otherworld, unleashing spirits that caused havoc, resulting in the tragic demise of many. Determined to right the wrongs of the past, Professor Samuel and Lydia led a ritual to close the portal and offer peace to the trapped souls. The night stretched on, marked by moments of terror, hope, and an overwhelming desire for redemption. By dawn, the menacing aura of Salem Heights had lifted. The spirits, their stories acknowledged and their pain addressed, seemed to find solace. We left the asylum as the first light of day broke, forever marked by the events of that Halloween. Professor Samuel continued his work, ensuring that the history of places like Salem Heights was preserved, while Lydia dedicated herself to helping tormented souls find peace. Now, every Halloween, when the air turns cold and shadows grow long, I light a candle for Abigail and the souls of Salem Heights. A silent tribute to the night when past, present, and the supernatural world converged. Story number 12. Title: Hauntings of Hollowbrook Hospital. The looming trees of the suburban Philadelphia woods have always whispered tales of mysteries and legends. But on that chilling Halloween night of 2012, the tales they whispered became terrifyingly real for me and my friends. I was driving, my closest friends, Ethan, Clara, and Mia, by my side, laughing and planning our night's adventures. Just as Ethan was recounting an old urban legend, a frenzied, ragged man emerged from the shadows, rushing across the road. Startled, I swerved sharply, grazing a tree. The car was damaged, leaving us stranded amidst the looming trees. Through the thick mist and dwindling light, an old decrepit building appeared, Hollowbrook Hospital. Knowing the tales surrounding the place, we were hesitant, but the advancing night gave us little choice. Inside, we stumbled upon Mr. Warren, an aged archivist, and Ms. Elise, a paranormal investigator. The duo had teamed up to uncover the truth behind Hollowbrook's abrupt and mysterious closure in the 70s. Mr. Warren, flipping through brittle pages of his records, recounted tales of a time when Hollowbrook wasn't just a mental institution but also a hub for sinister experiments on its patients. As his stories grew darker, we began to sense we weren't alone. Elise, with her ghost hunting equipment, started picking up strange readings. The old hospital seemed to be alive with whispers from the past. As midnight approached, the spirits grew more restless. Shadows danced, incoherent mutterings echoed, and chilling apparitions made their presence felt. Drawn into the unfolding mystery, Clara, ever the detective, suggested we delve deeper. Among the spirits, one seemed more coherent than the others, a former patient named Benjamin. He revealed a dreadful secret. Many of the hospital's patients had met their untimely end due to a disastrous experiment gone wrong, orchestrated by a doctor who had lost his moral compass. Determined to help these trapped souls find closure, we teamed up with Elise and Mr. Warren. Guided by Benjamin's spirit and Elise's knowledge, we conducted a ritual, hoping to free the tormented spirits. The night turned into a roller coaster of emotions: despair, terror, empathy, and hope. As dawn's first light painted the sky, the eerie aura of Hollowbrook began to dissipate. The spirits, their stories now acknowledged, seemed to have found some semblance of peace. We left Hollowbrook Hospital, forever changed. Mr. Warren went on to pen a book on the asylum's tragic history, while Elise continued her journey, assisting tormented spirits. Now, every Halloween, as darkness engulfs the world, I light a candle in memory of Benjamin and the souls of Hollowbrook, remembering the night when we stared into the abyss of the past and emerged stronger. Story number 13. Title: The Whispering Pines of Lone Star Asylum. The fragrant autumn air of 2013 in suburban Dallas will forever be intertwined with memories that oscillate between the realms of horror and surrealism. It's hard to forget a Halloween night that began with innocent excitement and ended with encounters of the spectral kind. I was driving. The endless expanse of the Texan woods stretched out around us as Julia, my adventurous sister, animatedly spoke about the local legends of the area. Our jovial chatter was abruptly halted when a wild deer darted in front of the car. Despite my best efforts to evade it, we veered off the road, hitting an ancient-looking boundary stone. Beyond the stone, hidden by the towering pine trees, stood a structure consumed by time, Lone Star Mental Asylum. Given the state of our vehicle and the pervading darkness, we made the reluctant choice to seek refuge within its dilapidated walls. Inside, amidst the decaying remnants of an era long gone, we met Dr. Mitchell, a historian with a penchant for Texas' dark past, and Celeste, a medium who claimed she could communicate with spirits. They were in Lone Star to unearth the truth of a massive fire that had engulfed the asylum in the 1930s, leaving behind nothing but ashes and unsolved mysteries. As night deepened, Dr. Mitchell shared with us the asylum's checkered history. It had been the site of controversial treatments, many of which had tragic outcomes. But the fire's cause remained a mystery. The official reports cited an electrical fault, but local legends whispered of something far more sinister. As midnight approached, the true nature of Lone Star revealed itself. Eerie apparitions began to manifest, casting ghostly silhouettes against the moonlit walls. Whispers echoed through the abandoned corridors, and an unexplained cold descended upon the place. Guided by Celeste's otherworldly connection, we made contact with a spirit named Eleanor. A former nurse at the asylum, she revealed that the fire was no accident. It had been deliberately started by a group of patients to put an end to the torments they faced. The tragedy had been covered up, turning the victims into restless souls. Compelled by Eleanor's harrowing tale, we, along with Dr. Mitchell and Celeste, decided to hold a vigil, honoring the memories of those who perished and seeking to provide them the peace that had long eluded them. The hours that followed were filled with spectral visions, heart-wrenching tales, and a deep sense of sorrow. Yet, as dawn approached, there was a perceptible shift in the atmosphere. The heavy presence that had dominated Lone Star began to lift, and the spirits, their stories finally acknowledged, began their journey towards peace. We left Lone Star Asylum with heavy hearts, but with the satisfaction of having played a part in resolving a decades-long tragedy. Dr. Mitchell documented the real story of the asylum, ensuring that the truth would not be buried again, while Celeste continued her spiritual journey, seeking to help more lost souls. To this day, every time Halloween approaches, Julia and I light a candle for Eleanor and the souls of Lone Star, remembering the night when the veil between our world and the next was thinnest. Story number 14. Title: Echoes of Ashwood Sanatorium. In the heat of suburban Phoenix, even the nights are scalding, but the Halloween night of 2014 brought a chill I'll never forget. The desolate roads of Ashwood Forest still haunt my dreams, echoing with whispers from a bygone era. I was driving, the car filled with my friends Jake, Lucy, and Sophie. We were on our way to a Halloween party, but, as fate would have it, we never made it. As we meandered through the woods, a spectral apparition darted across the road. Panicking, I veered sharply, causing the car to skid against an old iron gate. Beyond the gate lay Ashwood Sanatorium, a relic of the past that locals seldom spoke of. With our car inoperable and the enveloping darkness of the woods threatening, we cautiously ventured inside. In the echoing hallways, we crossed paths with Mr. Maxwell, a journalist intrigued by Phoenix's haunted histories, and Madame Alera, an enigmatic psychic. They had come in search of the truth behind Ashwood's sudden closure in the late 1960s. Mr. Maxwell recounted how Ashwood wasn't just a psychiatric institution but was also the center of numerous disappearances and unexplained phenomena. Rumors spoke of unethical experiments, strange rituals, and mysterious shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. As night deepened, the boundary between the living and the dead blurred. Ghostly figures roamed, chilling wails echoed, and a profound sadness permeated the air. Lucy, clutching her camera, captured orbs and apparitions, while Jake, ever the skeptic, tried to find logical explanations, albeit in vain. Guided by Madame Alera, we conducted a séance, contacting a spirit named Amelia. A former patient, she revealed the dark secrets of Ashwood. A doctor, driven by ambition and greed, had been using patients for a forbidden ritual that promised eternal life. The ritual, however, went horribly wrong, leading to a massive fire, taking many lives and trapping their souls within the sanatorium's walls. Determined to set things right, we, alongside Mr. Maxwell and Madame Alera, began a ritual to free the souls, confront the malevolent spirit of the doctor, and cleanse Ashwood. The ordeal was harrowing. Darkness fought back, but with determination and unity, we prevailed. As dawn approached, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by an almost serene calm. We left Ashwood Sanatorium with a story few would believe. Mr. Maxwell wrote a groundbreaking article on our adventure, finally revealing the truth of Ashwood, while Madame Alera, inspired by our experiences, opened a sanctuary for lost souls. Each Halloween, as the memories come flooding back, Jake, Lucy, Sophie, and I gather. We light candles, reminiscing about the night when we faced our fears and ventured into the unknown, forever changing our destinies. Story number 15. Title: Shadows of Torrey Pines Asylum. The coastal winds of suburban San Diego usually carry with them a hint of salt and the melody of the crashing waves. But on that fateful Halloween night of 2015, they bore whispers of a dark past that refused to be forgotten. I was driving, with my best friends Ryan, Isabel, and Lily along a winding road near Torrey Pines. We were recounting old ghost stories when suddenly, a disheveled man with wild eyes darted in front of our car. My reflexes barely saved us from a collision, but the car swerved, crashing into an old stone marker. Beyond the marker stood the dilapidated Torrey Pines Asylum. Its eerie silhouette against the moonlit sky gave us pause, but the condition of our car left us no choice. We gathered our things and decided to seek shelter within. Inside, we were met by Miss Alice, a historian, and Professor Daniels, a parapsychologist. They were there to research the tragic history of the asylum, which had been closed abruptly in the 1940s after a series of unexplained deaths. As the night progressed, Ms. Alice shared tales of Dr. Reginald Blackwood, the institution's head, who had been rumored to indulge in twisted treatments on his patients. Whispers said that his thirst for knowledge had led him down a dark path, experimenting with the very fabric of life and death. As hours passed, the chilling legends seemed to come to life. Shadows flitted past windows, ghostly apparitions beckoned from corridors, and an unsettling lullaby echoed through the halls. Lily, gripping her amulet, said she felt a cold presence, while Ryan, always the tech geek, tried capturing electronic voice phenomena. With Professor Daniels' expertise, we conducted a spirit communication session. There, we met the spirit of Anna, a former patient. She revealed that Dr. Blackwood, in his mad quest, had opened a portal to the spirit realm, leading to the chaos that eventually caused the asylum's downfall. The souls trapped couldn't move on, bound to the asylum by their tormentor. Feeling a mix of horror and determination, we joined forces with Ms. Alice and Professor Daniels. Guided by Anna, we located the ancient ritual room. There, using a combination of rituals and technology, we sought to close the portal and free the trapped souls. The ensuing hours were a whirlwind of terror and hope. We battled against unseen forces, chanting, and leveraging technology, all while trying to keep our sanity intact. As dawn's light began to break, a blinding flash filled the room, and then, silence. Emerging from the asylum, we were met by the first rays of the sun, casting the world in a golden hue. The menacing aura of Torrey Pines Asylum had lifted, replaced by a calm stillness. As we parted ways, Professor Daniels and Ms. Alice vowed to document our experiences, ensuring that the truth of Torrey Pines would never be forgotten. Each Halloween, as I gather with Ryan, Isabel, and Lily, we light candles in remembrance of that harrowing night. We often speak of Anna and the souls we encountered, cherishing the memories of the night we faced unspeakable horrors and emerged stronger together.